What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash today. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon. Hit that like button, subscribe, and thank you all for being here. It is the 6th day of March, and I'd like to make this video quick, right? We haven't really done too much over the past week. We've seen a little bit of volatility here and there, but I want to look at the short-term stuff, see what we can come up with, and then move on, all right? Overall, we're taking the perspective that we might be finding some type of a double bottom support and moving up higher. It is possible and totally acceptable if we do see a slightly lower low. I think that it's totally fine. It's not ideal that you pump up like this and you come back down, but even still, if we were to see something like that happen and even see a slightly lower low compared to here, that would still be, looking at it like this, it would still be easy to deduce that this is a double bottom formation, and we would behave similar to that. As we're moving down here, volume's dying off, suggesting that we're overall in this same kind of consolidation phase. I do expect that we will prevail. I do expect that we'll move up higher, but I want to talk about the short-term stuff before we get to that, okay? 1 hour time frame, looking at this here. As we're moving down, as we're breaking out here, look at the lack of volume. Total lack of volume. It's interesting to see a breakout like this, and volume is not necessarily needed. You don't need volume, and the fact that we have a lack in volume doesn't mean that we can't go lower. But typically, in this situation, I would expect that we do have some type of immediate reversal, right? If we move down here with a very low level of volume, I would expect that we can move back up very easily as well, just as quick, right? I want to look at this and see on Binance. A little bit of volume, a little bit more volume on Binance. The Asian markets are selling, not the United States markets, and there are people from the United States who use Binance as well. It's not just that, but it's still not a whole lot of volume. It's not tremendous, right? Here we are forming a higher low nonetheless. And I'm using the Coinbase chart because it has more history, so that's why we're using this. Looking at, not to paint the volume the way I like, we just looked at the Binance volume. If I wanted to do that, I wouldn't have looked at the Binance chart. I'm just curious sometimes if I see no volume here, but we're seeing a big movement, is it backed up on Binance? And if you look on Binance, it kind of is backed up a little bit, so that makes sense. Looking at the 1 hour RSI, we are oversold. We've broken out of our uptrend here, right? Higher lows all the way through here. We've broken out of that. That's not good. That's not fun. But we did break out of that here, so that's probably part of what caused this move to kick off a little bit. Stochastics are oversold, and the MACD here has crossed below the zero. We were in a bullish formation here yesterday, or at the beginning of this day, I guess, bouncing off of this area, but the bounce didn't prevail, and we actually broke through. I don't believe that we go too much lower. And I mean, for all I know, this really could be the low in itself. Let's just see from a low here to a high there. We've gone just below the golden ratio. I wouldn't be surprised if we went a little bit lower. I actually would be surprised if we found support right here, but anything can happen. Looking at the 1 hour time frame, I'm not really getting any signals other than it looks bearish. So with that, maybe we do go a little bit lower. Looking at it like this too, with our Fibonacci retracement tool. And maybe I should take this low actually over here. Looking at it like this, if we break through this level, the golden ratio, which we have on the first attempt, typically you go down to the 786, 886. You guys know, if you've been watching, that typically, this is not a guarantee, it's not always, but typically this is the idea we run with. If you break through the golden ratio on your first attempt, and from this low to this high, we have not interacted with this zone at all, right? We've only interacted with these zones. This is the first interaction with the golden ratio. On the first interaction with the golden ratio, you should typically find support. But if you break through, you typically find support down here, and we get a lot of volatility. A lot of volatility, which backs up this idea that we're moving down, there's not a lot of volume. Maybe what we see is some recovery back up to this area, or to the 236. It's very common, and this is a specific thing to look out for. If we bounce right off the 786, if we bounce off of there and we do it promptly, we don't hang out, we don't linger, we don't come down to the 886 or wick down below. If we bounce right off the 786 and promptly move back up, we will likely go to the 236 or even above it. So again, a lot of volatility is what we see during these movements where we do break through the golden ratio on the first attempt. So I would expect then, looking at the RSI, the indicators on the 1 hour, that we probably see prices somewhere around 441 to 437. I don't think that we go too much below 437 at all. I think that would be like the limits of this drop here. And The worst case scenario would be that we come down here to this level, we reject the golden ratio, and then we come back down. Then that would be the worst case scenario. So a very important thing to note here, again, we'd like to find support at the 786, but even if we don't, if we find support down here, that's okay. That's okay. We'd like it to be fast, but the most important thing is that we do get back above the golden ratio, a closing price above 449 effectively. Okay, we don't want to see any type of rejection or hesitation. We don't want to see that. It's sometimes you reject, you hesitate, and then you come back up. Sure, that's fine, but most of the time, whenever you reject like that, that implies lower prices. That implies a very bearish procedure. We want to avoid that. Get back above the golden ratio once you find support somewhere around 441 to 437. 4 hour time frame. Looking at this here. And, you know, we did talk. I did say yesterday we might come down right to this area. Right. The reason why is because that's kind of the apex, and we're almost there right now. 441 would probably do well. I mean, we could bounce here. I just, again, based off the fibs, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it could happen. Looking at the RSI, we've broken out of our uptrend here as well, or have we? No, we haven't. I mean, yes, and no, right? We've broken out of this trend. That's what I was seeing, but I guess we could come down a little bit lower, maybe bounce off this oversold area. That wouldn't be too bad. Here, I might fudge it a little bit more. That wouldn't be bad at all. Overall, maintaining a positive trajectory. I guess what we'd want to see here on the 4 hour is that we're avoiding the oversold area. We don't want to get into the oversold zone. Stochastics are getting oversold. The MACD is crossing red. None of this is necessarily ideal. I don't know how problematic it is either. If we cross red here, if these oscillators come down any significant degree, this will look like a rejection off the zero, and that's not typically good. Right? Sometimes you reject the zero and then inevitably you break through anyways. But whenever we rejected the zero here both times, that did not bode well for the price. Let me just fix this real quick. Why? Come on, man. I'm not trying to do this. Anytime that happens, the volume gets like way too big. I don't know why. I'm just going to stop trying because I'm going to move on. Let's look at the daily time frame. The daily time frame here on the RSI, we've rejected the 40. This is not a good sign, guys. This is typically not good. It doesn't mean that death is coming to us, that the abyss is coming to us, but it's typically not a good sign. You don't want to get out of the oversold zone and reject the 40. You don't want to get out of the oversold zone and reject the 50. You don't want to do that at all. But we are in a situation here where we have a double bottom in the RSI. We could come back down, and if we bounce off the oversold zone, if we find a higher low paired with a lower low here, that could give us some bullish divergence, and that could bring us to higher prices. Let me just see. I want to get this real quick. And we could, even if we closed at the 786 or the 886, if we close somewhere in this range where you break through the golden ratio and you expect to find support, if we close somewhere in this range, we would have a lower daily close and we would have further bullish divergence. So again, that's actually not a big deal. It's not a problem. And by the way, of the 4 hour RSI and the 1 hour RSI, I really could see in the next 9 hours and 40 minutes that we do come down to those levels. Bullish divergence on the stochastics, bullish divergence on the RSI on the 3-day time frame here, weekly time frame. The RSI is at the same levels that we found support consistently throughout like really the past like year and a half. The MACD is down at the zero, which is a perfect area to find support. The oscillators, the stochastics are at the oversold zone as well. It's a perfect area to find support. I mean, we're definitely at a low point for Bitcoin Cash. I'm definitely expecting, you know, from this area, the same expectations that we've had every time is that we will recover. It's okay if, you know, from here 446 we go lower. It's okay even if we go below this low. That's not the call necessarily. I'm not calling for lower lows than this low. I'm still calling for us to uphold it. But even if we go lower, a slightly lower amount, I think that's okay. We just don't want to see a huge deficit here. So Bitcoin Cash, Dragon Riders, hold the line. Do your part. Buy some Bitcoin Cash, or at least don't sell. Don't add to the madness. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, of course. We are expecting a humongous breakout here, a tremendous breakout, and it is March. I think this breakout can happen between now and the end of May. A lot of people say sell in May and go away, but that's not always the case. And actually, I want to look here, not at Bitcoin, but Bitcoin Cash. I just want to see how reliable that sell in May and go away theory is. Let's put this on here. Let's do cyclic lines, actually. Is it this one? It's this one. Cyclic lines. There we go. Go to May, July, February, March, April, May. All right, sell in May and go away there would have worked flawlessly, actually. May. So this is, oops. This is May to May. I think it's more sell in June and go away. Sell in May and go away here would have been perfect. Every one of these lines should be May, right? That's May coming up right there. Every single May that we'll ever have for the rest of the time. Here, sell in May and go away. It would have worked. It definitely would have worked, but sell in June and go away would have actually been the absolute high that you had. And it would have been more or less the same thing as sell in May and go away. If you imagine here on this line, if you sold in May, you might have sold at the beginning of the month and you missed this whole pump. Selling in June, even at the lowest point, would have got you at the highest point in May. Does that make sense? So sell in June, go away, I think would have been a little bit better to say, at least for this moment. Sell in May, go away did not work here. That would have actually hurt you. Sell in May, go away did work here. Sell in May, go away, it kind of worked here, but it was a little bit earlier. Didn't work there. It's not really consistent. It's like 50-50. It seems like a coin toss. It's not a bad idea, but it's not a good idea. It's like a 50-50 thing. I don't know. This doesn't really help. This doesn't provide any consistent behavior, at least around the May timeframe. But nonetheless, what I'm believing is going to happen between now and the end of May is that we will see a breakout move. Now, this doesn't mean that the end of May is whenever we're up here. I think that we could see this by the end of April. It could be the middle of April. I don't know. Whenever we break out, whenever we do spring, it's going to be fast, it's going to be dramatic, and it's going to be spectacular. But when? When is the question, right? We do not want any daily closes below this line at all. We want to avoid that. One daily close is not ideal, but as long as if it's one and then the next day we reject and we come back up, okay, it's a fake out. That's fine. But we want to avoid that entirely. We're very, very close to that line now, and it's not perfect. If I put it on a daily time frame, it'd be a little bit better, but something like below $415 is whenever we should start to really like shake in our boots, okay? We're not there yet. I don't think that we're going to get to that point. I think that we will recover beforehand, but that's just something to note. Looking at this here on the ribbon, on the monthly ribbon, this is a very, very powerful signal, my friends. What we're looking for by the end of this month, what we want to see is that in the next 25 days, 10 hours, we want to see that we are not closing in the ribbon, but bouncing off of it and getting some recovery. We look at the weekly ribbon here. The weekly ribbon has crunched down. What's the word I'm looking for? Consolidated down. It's coming down like this. It's tightening. There we go. Contracting. That's the word I'm looking for. Typically in these contractive moments, that's the point right before we move up. Here we had a false cross in this contractive moment here, and that's when we moved up. I think we're at the same point here. All we got to do is wait for the results and hope that we don't get too significant of a result to the downside. I don't really have anything else to say. I'm just talking at this point, so I'm going to end the video there. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. It'll be very exciting once we're back above $585. I'm sorry. But also, I think another point to get excited about might be getting above like 525, 520. By the time that we do move up here, we'll probably see this thing move down a little bit. So getting above this ribbon on the daily time frame would also be exciting. We'll monitor this as time goes on, but I don't have anything else to say for now. So hit the like button, subscribe. Again, the expectation is maybe we get daily closes below this level and then some rapid volatility to the upside. Hopefully it takes us back above this high. That's really what we're looking for. Okay. First bit of excitement there. Next bit of excitement above the ribbon. Ultimate excitement above this high, because then it validates this double bottom idea. Ta-ta for now. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.